All right, we're live. Hey guys,
Yo,
it's
yo,
Chris.
yo.
There you go. Thank you.
feel like
Oh,
feel like we should pop in like fucking CB4 or some shit.
I just watched that like a week ago. It's so weird.
I love that movie.
It's crazy. It's so ridiculous though. Like it's like the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen in my life. Like
it is very ridiculous. We're talking about CB4. If you haven't seen that, we're not gonna. That's not a documentary, so we're
that's
not
not the
gonna
documentary.
here. But you should totally watch it because it's a great piece of black cinema.
It's
like
insane.
It's a lot.
on
but
one
you
of
should-
these streaming services too. It's pretty fucking crazy. But
you should totally
guys,
watch
what are we talking about today?
it. This is all docked up. Let's start there. That's
Oh yeah, hey guys.
Right. I
that.
was on time again the day before VJ was, so
As you can see.
So I'm BJ. That's Kristen. That's Penrose.
Hey guys.
And this is
What's
all
up,
docked up.
Yeah.
This is a podcast where we talk about documentaries, and I literally just said that line 3 times in my head, so I can make sure.
So you can say it right.
Good job.
Good job. I'm proud of you.
Are you smart, Penrose? Yes.
You're smart.
Sometimes I won't let them get me about my extended car warranty, though. I bet that.
I knew it. I know you couldn't just. I knew.
Just, if they call you about your extended car warranty, just make sure you do your due diligence.
That's
fine.
it. That is
Or
it.
hang up. Or hang
Or
up.
hang up.
Really, you should hang up and call back and just tell them, hey, what number can I call you back at? And then when they hang up and don't ever call back, just know that they were scamming.
Yeah,
Because life is full of scams.
it is.
People that know you will
Yes.
scam you. Just
They
They really will, and have no qualms about it. Like,
scams.
all right, guys. So
Robbery.
Fraudulent.
We watched the documentary. It was very sad.
it was.
I don't know which one of us picked us. Which one of us watched this sad shit?
I think honestly, like I think it. I don't. It was. I think it might have been me. That's what's so terrible. And I was like, while I was watching, I was like, what the.
Hey, look, I swear to God, the same shit. I was watching this. I was like, because I ain't gonna front. It was one time, a long time ago, where I just threw some shit in there that I had not watched because I knew
That's what I did.
So while I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my God, I hope this wasn't me. Like, what the fuck are we watching? Jesus.
I was watching it and I felt like it might have been me because it was true crime. And I was like, oh, this is horrible. Did I watch this and tell other people to watch it?
I do what Penrose does, and I don't really be looking at documentaries. I just look at the synopsis, and I'm like, "Oh, okay," and then and then I'm traumatized when I finally watch it.
Right.
Well, the good news about the traumatic experience is it's like an hour and 8 minutes long, so it's not even like a long
Drawn
traumatic
out.
experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Mama gets right to the point, and I appreciate that. These are a bunch of white people doing rich white people shit, and they just all right.
What's the name of the documentary, VJ?
What haunts us?
Yeah, and it's on hey baby, it's on Amazon Prime, I believe, and then I also think like Tubi TV or something else like that.
Yeah, Amazon Prime is where I saw it.
Yes. So I don't remember who it was that did this one. I don't remember her. Paige Tolbeck, is that? I think that's right.
Lori?
Yeah. Tolbeck is her married name, is that right?
I think so. So it's Paige something Tolbeck, but I do remember that. So we get like a voicemail at the beginning of this from someone named, is it Mickey Mackey? And they're talking about some shit that happened at Porter Goud, which is a school in Charleston, South Carolina. If you have ever been to Charleston for vacation, it is a lovely spot that is very like Southern antebellum white, like old school white money Southern Belle type shit over there. Like that's some other shit going on in Charleston. Like the white elite over there can absolutely trace their fucking ancestry back to some motherfuckers at a plantation. They all owned one. Like them motherfuckers is like literally one generation removed from the goddamn plantation.
Real
Like
shit. That's listen, not to get totally off subject, but DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. You know, at the beginning of games when they say, their name and say what college they went to, he refuses to say Clemson. And he said, he was like, I always knew I'm from South Carolina. It was the easiest road to the NFL. He was like, but I refuse to every weekend, like pretty much, put on blast the school that's probably the most racist fucking college in all of the country. You know what I'm saying? And when you think about South Carolina, not only with the racism, but definitely what we're going to get into. Like you said, South Carolina, Charleston is beautiful as fuck, but to be shrouded in so much fucking like undercover misery is for, you know what I mean? It's like you got to paint that as a beautiful place because they don't want all of the fucking real shit to come out.
Well, I mean, again, like you're saying, we're going through this thing in America right now where these white people are trying to like do this boogeyman shit with critical race theory, like their children are being taught that they're horrible people because their white ancestors owned slaves, and no one is trying to tell the children they're horrible. But white Republicans are doing whatever the fuck that is.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'd be the first to say it as well. Like, I went to a school that was predominantly white. They had a very racist school song, and now the current administration is trying to make it seem like everyone's concerns are invalid, and we should just suck it up and be whatever. But y'all be the first ones in my goddamn email every year asking for fucking donor money. When I can absolutely speak to having a shitty ass experience on more than one occasion with racism on that campus. So I have a whole class ring, and God bless them, I wear it because I paid for it, and that degree cost me a fucking grip. Like, but that shit says The Eyes of Texas. It's a goddamn fucking minstrel song.
Real shit.
I just looked up. Sorry, I just looked up the tuition for Porter Gaud for grades 1 through 4. $22,120. For grades 5 through 12, you're looking at $26,850.
Is that per year or per semester?
Let's see. I believe it's per year, but that would be insane if it was per semester.
That would be. For all
colleges you pay per semester, and I started going to University of Texas in 2003, I was paying roughly 12.5 per semester. We won a national championship roughly 2.5 years into my tenure there. That skyrocketed to almost 20 a semester.
You was there for the Vince Young days?
I was.
This looks like it's yearly because you can go. There's 3 payment plans, and the last one is a 10-month payment plan.
It's only a high school. I would hope that's yearly. Shit.
And you charge
but you would be surprised. Some of these very upper crust elite private schools or schools that you pay to get your kids in, like you're paying for that pedigree. You're paying to say that your kids went there. They're not getting a better education than they are anywhere else. But some of them are per semester. Like it absolutely is a per semester situation at some of those schools. Especially some of these top tier elite ones where it's like a pipeline to like Harvard, Yale, whatever. They're absolutely paying that person.
Yep.
My bad. I'm outside.
All good. Shit. It's the ambiance.
Yeah.
So we meet Paige, and then we meet Amy and Stuart and Mackie, and then Jerry. I think that's about everybody we sit with.
Most of those.
Yeah, so we find out that, like 1979, these kids are talking about going to school at Porter Gaud, and they say like 6 out of 50 guys in one class, the class of 79, have committed suicide. And so they start to notice these patterns. And so they're talking about the fact that when they thought about it after the fact, they're like, okay, I know somebody that committed suicide in this grade, in this grade, in this grade, in this grade, all the way down to like 4th and 5th grade. And so it begs the question, why are elementary school children trying to kill themselves? Like, why are you all committing suicide?
Right. And everybody from this one school, you know what I mean? And for it to be, I think she realized it in her graduating class, but like you said, for so many different people to have the same story, coming through the same pipeline. And I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll get into the point, but it was all men, right?
At some point, yes.
It started off as an all-boys school because we learned that.
I'm talking about all of the murder. I mean, all of the suicides.
Well, yes. And we'll kind of get into why that is.
Right.
What you were going to say about the history of Porter Gaud, might as well get it out the way.
Okay, yeah. So, hold on, I got it here. What's that fucking weird ass looking nigga's name?
It made me think of the series then when I saw this part. But go ahead.
Yeah, kind of, right? So, the documentary makes a point to tell you that, like they said, Charleston, South Carolina is beautiful, but Charleston particularly is like plagued with like weird shit in their history, right? So one of those weird stories is kind of how this school came to be about. It's Reverend Anthony Toomer Porter is the founder of this school. Before he founded the school, he had a son that, like, to me, I think he was loving on way too much. I don't know what that means. But he was just like, he was putting him on a weird pedestal. I could just say that like that. And back then, like, kids died from like sneezing too hard. So like he did all of that, and then his like kid died. And so he was like so like distraught that like he said that he was visiting the what do you call it?
The grave site.
The grave site,
Right.
and a voice spoke to him and basically was like, "Get your ass up. He dead. Go live for the living." That's basically what he said. So that's kind of where the school came from. And it did actually start as an all boys school up until, when was it?
It was an orphanage for poor kids.
Oh
In
yeah,
like the Civil War or some shit. Like it's that bitch been in existence forever.
Right.
Like, but it seems like he was like collecting like homeless little bum kids and was like putting them all in the same area. And then that's basically what the school became, is just like a place for boys. And it was boys only for a very long time.
I think Paige was in the first. Wasn't she in the first class that allowed women?
Yeah.
Or girls?
She was.
Mm-hmm. All right. So when we're meeting all these people at the very beginning, the person who's is it the documentarian? What do you call them? Documentarian. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess the film director or whoever's making this page.
Paige asks, hey, well, like, let's talk about Eddie Fisher. And the person that she's talking to, I can't remember who she was talking to, but
Michael Tucci, he was an old basketball coach. And he's sitting there and she brings up Eddie Fisher and he's like, I don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Like his eyes, like there was something in his eyes, like where he like felt very disturbed about it.
He was talking, he was cool. It was like, Portugal. I don't want to talk about Eddie Fisher. Like the shit just like he just knew, you know what I'm saying? That's a piece of history that nobody wants to unveil. Or even, maybe even just be a part of. Like, when you look at this story, sometimes it's like, how many? Well, fuck it, because I don't want to prelude shit. But yeah, he just didn't want to talk about Eddie Fisher due to dude being a horrible fucking person.
So then we see Paige tells us about her one of her yearbooks, the Polygon, being dedicated to Eddie Fisher. And so then she kind of describes him to us. So he's just kind of like an enigmatic, kind of very charismatic guy. I think they said he was like a football team trainer. And he was just like a cool guy. Everyone wanted to hang out. All the guys really looked up to him. Everyone was like, oh, Eddie's so great. And so then we find out that in reality, Eddie's like inviting these boys over to his home. And he does that thing where he's like, oh, I'm not your parents. I'm super cool. You can trust me. And so they go over and we find out that he is essentially grooming these boys because he has porn everywhere and he's letting them drink. And so he's gaining their trust so that he can take advantage of them and molest them.
He's basically the white mom.
He's the white mom?
Ma,
like the movie, the horror movie with Octavia. Yeah,
exactly.
like he was the kicking spot. Like he was the kicking spot. Like, oh, your parents won't let you do this shit there. Your parents are gonna let you watch porn in my house. Like smoke in my house, drink in my house. Like, he was very much giving me Ma vibes, but
it was a lot. Like, yeah, somebody called him a con man, and I was like, that is very fitting.
I thought it was interesting though when that while Paige is describing him this way, the teachers, when they like went to him and went to them, they were like, "That I don't think that nigga was a teacher." So like,
I don't even know how he even got here. Like,
nigga, somebody called him illiterate. Like, I was like, damn, like.
But I mean,
like it's wild.
I mean, if you think about it, how many people do you know that just volunteer as a football trainer and then end up actually teaching? You know what I'm saying? There was no thing. This was not. He did not come to Portugal on some. Let me just put my application in as a history teacher. You were a football trainer and then you taught history class. Which, don't get me wrong, I think history is one of the dopest things in the fucking world. But it's also the one class that if your teacher's a fucking piece of shit, you can easily pass and never learn a thing. And it's like you couldn't make him the math teacher. You got to teach kids math. You couldn't make him an English teacher. You know what I'm saying? And it's like this
At the end of the day, the kids got to be able to read, they got to be able to write, they got to be able to count. So you can't put him anywhere that actually requires the kids to test on shit. Like you got to put him somewhere where the shit is not being tracked by the state. So
right.
And this also what happens here. This also goes to show the level of. I don't want to talk shit about older generations, but it showed the level of comfort that should not be had in certain situations. Because the guy that we met that was talking about the surf club, they didn't have anywhere to meet, and so he became the surf club. His house was the surf club meeting spot, and he was going on like different little people. These people were allowing their children to hang out with him, and they knew that it's just your kid and Eddie just hanging out, and to never think that is weird. Like, why does, especially as for the kids who had dads that were involved, which in this area in that time pretty much
they all had dads,
right?
And I'm gonna say, and we're not talking about black people, we're talking about white people. So everybody had all their families.
They had their whole family, their mom and their daddy. They came from good homes. They had plenty of money, and they was like, yeah, that's cool. We like him. Go hang out at his house. And it's wild because it was like, even if you can excuse the fact that the parents were like, it's cool, like what school and school administrators would be comfortable with a teacher having a club meet at their home outside of school out? Like none of that makes sense from like a liability standpoint. No actual fucking person with a brain as an administrator would be like, yes, let 60 children come to your home after hours.
Right. And that's right.
Nobody.
Exactly. We're not talking about the step team. We're not talking about the defensive line coach and only the defensive lineman. Something that is like, it makes sense almost. But you're talking about 60 kids. Like that dude said, there was so many people in the surf club because it was just, they got to go to the beach.
It was like the most popular club. Like, they got to go to the beach. Like,
so, and it's just, like I said, it goes to show that the level of comfort that certain people have, it shouldn't have been had. Because we, like you said, we kind of get into it fast. For all of y'all that are watching, this documentary is about a man who molested children and molested mostly boys. And it's not just about the molestation. The molestation is horrible, but it's a tale of how twisted people can be when they all don't give a fuck. How twisted people can be when the people that we're supposed to be teaching the future, we have to leave this world to children, and yet certain people don't give two shits about the brain that you're molding inside a child, because these dudes literally had a molestation syndicate. You know what I'm saying?
Right. We didn't really know that quite yet, or we didn't really figure that out quite yet. But yeah, true. So we're talking. You're good. We're talking about a teacher, right? But like, let's go back and let's talk about like who hires teachers, right? So you've got two people at this school. First of all, what the fuck kind of name is Berkeley Grimball? That sounds like a Harry Potter. He
sounds like that's what I said. Oh my God, is he in Harry Potter? I thought the same thing. Like,
he's
okay, with your fucking Slytherin ass.
Definitely House of Slytherin.
I went more like really idiotic boss and an over-exaggerated Dr. Seuss story.
Okay.
Yeah, like he gonna rhyme everything or some shit and wear a top hat. I can see that. Like that nigga, that nigga definitely like is a Seussical ass bitch. I feel it.
I need that fucking Spence report. Like,
I definitely feel it. He's a Seussical ass bitch. I feel it. So Paige is doing this documentary. She gets somebody sends Paige a box of the court transcripts. They was like, here, bitch, I got all this shit. Have a good time.
Could you imagine just opening up your door and a box that shows you that Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer is on your fucking...
Right.
I would motherfucking pass out. Like, y'all would have to scrape this bitch off the floor. I would be like, y'all, are you ready? Are you ready? The moment that I've been waiting for my whole fucking life has just happened. So
they fucking FedExed it to my door.
That time I couldn't prove Ted Cruz was the
Damn, guess what?
You would
selling
car warranty. Goddamn.
But yeah, so somebody drops off this like box, and it's just like It's from one of the victims, and it's just like literally everything, like newspaper clippings, and tapes. Where like whoever this person is has a good enough studio where they can fucking black out the faces and then muffle the voices, like, and she's getting all this shit, so she's like, well, fuck, like, okay, like,
let's go.
Right.
So this is, I guess, where we meet. What is his name? Gary? Is it Gary?
Gary, spelled Gueurry.
Yeah, like, and I kept looking at it and wanting to call him something like Jerry, but it's Gary.
It's definitely Gary.
So Gary is the first person to actually come forward and be like, look, what's his name? Eddie Fisher was like touching me and molesting me and shit's fucked up. And people was like, oh, he was molesting you? So sorry.
That's crazy.
That's look at that shit when somebody asks you $40 and you just met him. That's wild.
Wow, 40. That's I hope you find it. I hope you come up on that. Wow.
So you short 60 on your rent. Wow. I'm gonna pray for you, and I hope you get like that. Was exactly what it was. Like it was like that. It was absolutely that. They were like, I'm not interested. So we sit with a lady named Deb, and Deb is like Deb is like, I guess, a psychologist or something to that effect. And Deb, I mean, she makes a very good point. And I only bring this up because she was saying, like, he was the first person to come out, and these children really didn't say anything. And so he is molesting these children and going unchecked because he's telling these kids, no one will believe you. Don't tell your parents, blah, blah, blah. And she makes a valid point. When there are adults in a room and children are faced with the fact of having to say this adult did this and it's their word against an adult, children very often do not have necessarily the life experience to know that they will be believed. And so they feel like if they say these things, they're going to get in trouble or no one is going to believe them because an adult has said otherwise.
Right. Now, my biggest thing with that, though, is when Gary came out, he was an adult. And then we get to the story very shortly thereafter that there was a young boy that he told that older women wanted to have sex with him. And, you know, he needed to groom him up, meet him at the mall. The young boy did not tell his parents, but his brother, I think, overheard him telling somebody, or he told his brother. And
he told his brother, and the brother said, nah, G, and went and told the mom and dad.
They catch this man in the act. They still send their son so they can try to catch this dude in the act. They catch him in the act, report it to the school, and the school again.
The school was like, he was where? But he okay now? And like, you ain't seen nobody dick out? Okay, well, we definitely gonna get right on this. Like, this nigga got to go. Like, and they definitely did not do anything. Nothing was filed. Nothing was like. There's almost no record of it. Like,
no. And like the lawyer, I guess we sit with David Flowers, and he was saying like he chose a very specific victim type. He chose people that were upper crust. These children are going to the school that their parents are paying $20,000 a year for them to go to. These people have money. They're in Old South Charleston, the movers and shakers. You don't want to create a scandal around your family. So if that means shutting the fuck up and not telling your parents that somebody is touching you, that's what it is. Because your parents are not going to hear that because now you're scandalizing the whole family. What was the saying that he said, which I've actually heard that? We're too poor to paint, but we're too proud to whitewash. And I've heard that before.
Right.
So that's
I still don't even really understand what that means. Like, he even explained it, and I was still like, okay, like, so ain't like, I don't understand.
Well, okay, so back in the days or whatever, when people used, basically what it is like people would have like brick homes or whatever, more than like. So when it starts to crumble on the face, a lot of people will do repairs and they'll paint so that it looks nice. Well, painting was kind of a luxury and expensive, but whitewashing is relatively cheap, so it's considered lowbrow to whitewash your house.
Okay, so I have a quick question about whitewashing. I thought that was just still white paint. Is it not white paint?
It is white paint to kind of, it's like cleaning up the brick a little. It's not really paint. Like, it's hard to explain. It's like kind of bleaching the brick, or it's not quite the same as painting it. But to whatever extent, like, it's much cheaper to do that than it is to paint. Right. So basically it's just like, I want to appear rich. And so I am absolutely not going to whitewash my house. I don't care what the fuck happens.
Right. I'll just paint whatever I could afford to paint and let the rest of it look the way it's going to look.
Paint the front and the rest is whatever. Exactly.
It's why you see so many houses in suburban communities where the front be bricked in the bitch, but all the sides is nothing but motherfucking
Siding,
yeah,
stucco.
you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Motherfuckers only
Whatever.
care about what look, and that's what Charleston, South Carolina was. Like you said, he's molesting rich kids. He's molesting people that have some type of influence in the city. Your parent sits on the board of this. Your mom works here. Your dad owns this. You know what I'm saying? And especially in the time that we're talking about, when homosexuality was looked at as a disease, it was looked at as those people were from hell. It was always some type of horrible tag associated with homosexuality. So when you're rich and we talking about the late 70s and the early 80s, all the way through the early 90s.
There was no way these children were going to come to their parents and say, this man molested me, because now they look like they are, well, are you gay? Did you let him? So it creates a whole other scandal because of the time they ran. So of course
Right.
he didn't say it.
Right. Which during the, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just really quick, because I just like to always write down really insignificant parts of the documentaries to watch. But I thought that was very funny that when they were, because you guys were talking about kind of like the character of Eddie, but how when they went back to his high school yearbook, how they had labeled him. You know how people be like best dressed, best couple, most likely to succeed.
Best
This
bullshitter.
nigga basically got best bullshitter.
He did.
And if that's not something that I'm definitely I'm gonna need on your resume, like, so I can be like, oh, I'm cool.
That nigga's like, yeah, he's been a scammer since day one. Like he's been on some type of scam.
Scamming.
Yeah, like absolutely. And I thought it was funny. Like the attorney, he was like, oh, what was it? The rich people were harboring pedophiles. Okay, I'm game. Like he just really called a spade, where everybody else in the documentary was like dancing around it, not wanting to say it. He was like, so the rich people was just letting him be a pedophile. Okay, yeah, I want him.
I'll take this.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right.
But the school that we're talking about, the school that has like the most like victims and where he did the most damage, is not even where we start, right? So there's a school, he started his career at a school called Sacred Hearts. And during the whole documentary, it's important to know that we get to talk to him. Well, not talk to him, but he's speaking and explaining and admitting thank you. Right. And he's speaking. So we're hearing some of this stuff come from him, where he admits that his first victim is from Sacred Hearts. We later on find out that it was a total of 3 of them from Sacred Hearts. And I can get into the numbers for the rest of the schools later. But so then we're like, okay, so this happens at Sacred Hearts, but how does he get to Porter God, right?
Well, that's because the principal,
right,
Major Alexander, because I'm not finna try to remember the rest of that man's name. He got 80 names, but they were calling him the Mage. Yeah, it was some very
Skipper was in there somewhere, like
Skipper something. Yeah,
right.
it was very white, very Southern, very. My parents were the Confederacy. That's all I got.
When they said that nigga name, all I felt like
James Bishop Skipper Alexander, like Mage.
I felt like
your parents be at Civil War reenactments, baby. We know. They went to the Citadel. They some old white racists.
Right.
And I didn't know what the Citadel was until this documentary.
Oh,
yeah, it's a military.
It's a military school, but like white money, like
it's the Southern white money equivalent of West Point.
There you go.
Oh, okay, I got you.
They're trying to make officers, and the only officer schools is VMI, West Point, and that's it. So for like the Citadel, like they're allowed to do it. It ain't even like military. I think governed. I don't think.
No, it's just like a military, like a military academy.
It's just a big old ROTC.
Pretty much. That's exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Like they're not even. That's not even like a pipeline for that shit. Exactly. They just opened it.
Okay.
In my whole military career, I've never met an officer that came from the fucking Citadel. Put it down.
Because they don't. They just out there fucking around. Like at the Citadel playing with guns and shit, playing around. Pew pew, got you. Like they not. Right. Okay.
Listen,
okay.
So him and Eddie had both gone to this made up military school.
Military school.
And so you know how like when you go to school, like you know how like when we go to school with people and like we like keep connections and stuff like that sometimes, and we speak when we see them. White people like to have blood brother connections. and never let each other go and take people wherever the fuck they're going. And so that's kind of how Eddie got here. Because they never even said that they were like best friends or anything. Like
They
you
just went
never
to the
heard
same
nobody
school.
say that. You just heard that they both graduated from the same school.
Well, I think
Like-
they kind of alluded to the fact that was his man's. I mean, because that's what they said is that's how he knew him. You right? They never really said they hung out or they did this, that, and the third.
No, but I think they
I
were in
know
the same
mad
class.
people. Like
They were in the same class as the Citadel, so they knew of each other, even if they were not
Yeah.
necessarily friends. Like they knew.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I will be very honest in saying that even Citadel aside, a lot of these institutions, especially the more storied ones, it is not about what you have learned at school. It is about who you know. Because even with University of Texas, like we have a Texas Exes chapter, and when you graduate, you get a ring, but you also get a book that has like names of people that are connections. You are paying for the privilege of having these connections to these people. And especially here, like it's
You're
not
paying for the
everywhere.
AliExpress vendor.
Right, because especially in
vendor
Texas,
list.
like it's one of the bigger schools. So you're paying essentially for someone to see this ring and be like, oh, you went to Texas? I went to Texas too. What are you into? What do you
Here's
do?
a job.
Yeah, I mean, that is really what you are paying for. You are paying for that access. You are paying to play. So it is not surprising that because they both went to Citadel, he was like, cool, I'll give you a job. I don't really go fuck what you did at Sacred Heart. Like, I ain't gonna call nobody or nothing. You want to work? Meet me there Monday. Like that seems that is very on brand for white men. That is very on brand.
Yep. So that's how he ended up at this place. Now in only the very first fucking semester, guys. So we talking about the first 6 months?
Yeah.
Of school.
Eddie
approaches 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Eddie he approaches a kid.
That's the one he approached about.
This is when we approached the kid that had the parents do the staying and all that shit like that. This happened in the first 3 months of this nigga working at this job. And so at that point, I feel like Eddie thought, well, if they let me get away with that, why can't I do whatever the fuck I want? Like, and that's basically from there on, he kind of just did whatever the fuck he want. Yo, that picture in the yearbook, bitch. Can you explain that picture? Like, y'all, so it was a picture in the yearbook, and it's like a kid sitting down, and this nigga, he stood in front of him crotch first, right? Like, is that right? And had his like leg up, like he had his leg up, like kind of like Captain Morgan. And then he had his hand on the kid. It was a lot happening in that fucking.
I just don't know that I would be comfortable with that man having his crotch in my face. Like that was a lot.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's like, well, the picture in the yearbook.
Oh yeah,
but
that was weird.
You did Captain Morgan, and
yeah, Captain Morgan and niggas. Like it was so weird. Like, and it was like super like dick to like eye ratio was like.
I've never been that intimate with the penis that I wasn't like romantically involved with. So that was a lot.
And that's
a lot. Like
how did nobody, like whoever took the picture and whoever the fuck was the adult that had to okay this book? How was nobody like, hey, I think Eddie getting a little too close to these kids? You know what I'm saying?
Who approved that picture in the yearbook?
Right.
They knew. Okay.
Because wasn't this around the same time that we learned about the drop your drawer shit?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Paige tells us an interesting story. Paige goes on a tennis date with a boy.
Fuck yeah, this was weird.
And she's like, oh, they in the car, they ride, and she trying to make small talk. Paige like, what you into? What you be doing after school when you not at Porterhouse? She trying to make, what you be doing? You be at the surf club with Stewart? What you do?
Right.
And he's like, nah, I don't be at the surf club with Stewart, and I don't really have any hobbies. My main thing that I like to do is go fuck around at Bobby Fischer's house. And she was like, okay.
Eddie, yeah, not Bobby Fischer.
Not the chess prodigy. Nobody was at Bobby Fischer's house with Bobby and the chessboard. My man, Bobby. I know he's playing chess, mind his business. I'm so sorry. So he was like, I'm at Eddie Fisher's house and we just be hanging out. And she was like, oh, that's weird, but what do you do over there? And at this point, Paige sitting in the goddamn in the passenger seat with her legs tucked, her fucking knees tucked under her chin, and he's telling her this horrible story about how he goes over there and gets molested, and she was like, "Huh? So how far are we from the tennis court? You think weather's gonna be nice? I think we could get a few games in. You think they got the ball machine on so we can work on our serves?"
Listen.
She never tells an adult, and
I would have had nightmares about this, about him just telling me the story again. Like,
right. And
like he told her that he went over there and got molested, and she was like, "Oh,
that's crazy."
Crazy. So ice cream after?
Right. But how did anybody take? Oh well, he's saying that if he does this with me, it's gonna make it easier when I'm with girls. Nigga, make it make fucking sense. Like that's
what he was saying.
Unless you are a homosexual male, there is nothing that fucking excites you or makes sense in this situation. And again, it just goes back. And I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but again, piggybacking what VJ said. Children are afraid to say that motherfucker's lying. You know what I'm saying? And so it's almost as if this young kid was like, "Well, this is an adult. An adult said this." So this is an adult. My mom and dad know I'm over here with this fucking man by myself. It must be okay. And
honestly,
horrible.
Watching this only just made me want to watch fucking that one documentary again that I know we've all seen like 3 times now.
Oh,
the neighbor
in plain sight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that.
I
just
that kind of vibes. Yeah.
Very much.
That's
so.
what it was giving me. It was giving me, what is this, Bertrand or whatever the fuck his name was? It's giving
me. So once we learned about I'm sorry, I just can't get over how the date would have been over. Like like either I'm going home and never talking to you again, or we're both going to the police station. Like I don't know what to do with this. Like
it's just so much that he unloaded it in the car, and you could tell he just wanted to tell anybody and hope to get help. And she was like,
clearly he just needs to get off his chest, because why would he ruin his date like this?
Right.
Because he didn't know no fucking better. And Miss Mamas was like, "And I'm so sorry, and I'm so ashamed that I didn't say anything." Meanwhile, they just cruising to the tennis courts. Like, y'all went and played. Y'all went and played tennis
after this. Like, what do I talk about after this?
If I'm not mistaken, isn't he one of the dudes that committed suicide?
Yes.
I'm not sure, because she just says her friend. She doesn't really specify.
Right, that's true.
Okay.
So after we hear about this insane fucking conversation that she had on a date, we meet Carlos. Is that right? Yeah. Carlos is a kid that also goes to the same school, and he was like super into like a whole bunch of like nerdy shit. Like I don't know how to explain that.
He was like one of them out of the box things, like when I be bringing up flat Earth and the dome being over this bitch, me and Carlos could have talked. He was into that old crazy shit. So
he said they was taking walks on the beach and they would come back and he would be like, "Oh, we need to shower," and he was like, "Shower."
Right. So the way that this starts is that him and Carlos, like he bonds and with Carlos by speaking Spanish and being interested in the things that he's interested in.
Right. Buying
and so
books and shit and yeah.
And so one day he goes and he says, "Hey, I had a dream about you. So let's go to the beach when the sun sets and let's go talk." And so they're having this very romantic walk on the beach. That's not romantic, y'all. I'm just being a dick. But anyway, so they're fucking strolling, and he's like, "All right, tell me about this dream, bro." And he's like, "All right, check. So I had this dream." And and Carlos is like, "Yes." He about to hella be like, "You're the chosen one. You're the golden child." And he's like, "All right, so are you ready? Are you ready for me to tell you what the dream is about?" All right. I had a dream that you wanted me to teach you about sex. And Carlos was like, "I don't think so."
And honestly, Carlos, God bless him, he was the realest one here, because Carlos off the bat was like, "Look, I fought him tooth to nail. That nigga tried to kiss me on my neck and was laying all on my back." And I was like, I don't like this, bro. I don't like whatever you trying to do. I'm not with this. I'm not into you like that. I thought we were friends. I thought we were going to talk about conspiracy theories together. Maybe get some hot dogs. You're doing too much. I didn't sign up for all this.
After the walk on the beach, you know how you be getting sand on your feet and you gotta like get like completely naked and take showers with like a grown adult. Like
No,
so
I
then
don't know.
that happened.
No. But that's what he told Carlos.
That's what he told him. And so
And
he was like, okay, this is
crazy.
weird, but okay. So now they're in the shower together. Nobody went swimming. I need to make sure y'all know this.
They were
In
not
the shower-
dirty on any place but their feet. Let's just
their feet. So
He said that too, though. Remember he
fucking
said that. He was like, yo, like, we need to take a shower. We didn't even get the water.
what for?
He was like, he
Baby
was
Carlos
like,
was a typical boy child. Shower.
for what?
Like I don't
He said, but we
like
never
it's
did
not
the
it's
ocean.
not Sunday.
Then he said we never got in the ocean. He was like, oh, it's because of the sand. Nigga, we
Like-
went walking, nigga.
We
like
walked on it.
I
I could
have
wash my
on
feet
LA
off
gears.
outside. You got a water house? You got a water hose outside? I could just do that. I'm good. You got a bottle of water?
Right.
So they get in the shower. He gets out, and I'm sure Carlos is like, "All right, let me get the fuck up out of here." And old boy's like, "Nah, lay down." And then so he starts to like molest him, and basically he's explaining sex is just touching and feeling. So no matter like if it's a guy or a horse or like a cute lady or ugly lady, like or an old man that go to school with you, like you know what I'm saying, like whoever it is, he's basically saying like you have to learn like the ins and outs of it if you're going to be. And here's an interesting thing that he ended up saying that he doesn't remember, but a couple of kids said that in these moments where he's taking advantage of them, he would say that there was these older women that wanted to smash.
Right.
And so, but you can't just like go to smash her. Like you can't be sucky. So like, let me show you. And then and then you go. Like, so that's basically what happened. So Carlos definitely was not fucking with that nigga no more. And then they cut to Cherry. That was a teacher there, right?
Cherry's a down ass bitch. So hi, Cherry. Let me talk to you right quick, Cherry, because you seem
Yeah.
to be the only motherfucker in this whole shit with any goddamn sense.
Cherry was the one who said that
look,
nigga wasn't the real teacher.
Cherry
That was
said
the
that
older
nigga.
lady, right?
Yeah, Cherry was like that leg director or something. Cherry was like, look, he be hanging around at the showers and shit, but just the boy showers, staring at him. And so she was like, at best, he's a peeping Tom, and y'all still need to fire him. And at worst, something's wrong with him, and you still need to fire him.
Right.
Cherry was on the spectrum with all of it needs to be a firing, but I don't really know what it is that he's doing. I can't pinpoint it, but I
I
know
don't know what y'all
something's
gonna write
fucked
on the
up.
paperwork, but get this nigga the fuck up out of here.
Yeah, like
Right.
he gotta go. I don't care what you write. He got to get the fuck out of here. And they was like, Cherry, now you don't have any proof, Cherry. You're delusional, Cherry. You're gonna get us
basically
all
making her feel criminal for
they gaslit
saying
the
this.
fuck out of her. Like, they made her
You know
feel
how serious
like she
these
was
accusations are.
crazy.
Right.
They made her feel like she was crazy, and the whole school was gonna get sued for $1 kajillion because Cherry said he was a peeping Tom,
Right.
but she ain't had no proof. And that's when we find out that all the kids at the school and everybody else was complicit because they was calling that nigga Fast Eddie.
Mm.
The teacher's name was Fast
Boy.
Eddie?
Yeah. That's when it all started to come out that like not only did this man placed in the system by some people who didn't give a fuck, but multiple children knew what the fuck was going on to the point to where it wasn't a thing that was talked about per se. But now this is the point that after the Fast Eddie comment, this is where the drop the drawers thing came because somehow he was also the school nurse.
Okay, hold on.
It was a
second.
running joke. Like the
What is
medic.
where's the application?
Like he's not even.
What is?
Thank you. This nigga
He
was
wasn't even a
nurse.
qualified nurse
all.
or physical therapist or anything. These kids could be like, "Oh, I got a cough. I think my allergies are acting up. Well, let me drop your drawers so I can check and see if you have a hernia."
Or if you like pulled a muscle on your leg, he definitely need to see your dick to make sure that you didn't like sprain the like dick muscle. Like what
he was
the
just
fuck is
asking these
happening?
children to drop their drawers for literally everything. It was like it's the pedophile equivalent of put some have some Robitussin or drink some ginger ale and lay down. Like
Nigga,
it's the pedophile equivalent of drink some ginger ale and lay down.
The concerning part for me here is that again, these are rich white kids. I know they go to the doctor all the time. How often has a doctor had to look at your dick? Like truthfully.
Right.
Unless there was literally something wrong specifically with your dick.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, who the fuck?
I mean,
I've
if you
never
hurt
had a
yourself
doctor.
at school, your parents are not going to take you to the doctor.
Right.
Mom, Dad, I think I
And
broke
that
my.
doctor's not gonna ask to see your dick. He gonna say, "Oh,
So
you
you're
hurt
not
your
going to
knee."
compare the two and be like,
And then for it to be a motherfucking, they have the assembly. What was they had the assembly and it was a talent show or some shit.
at
And
a
the kid,
skit or something. It's probably a pep
yeah,
rally. Man, it's like
it's
a
a pep
skit.
rally. That's what it was. It was a pep rally, and these kids do a reenactment skit
Of him.
of Eddie Fisher, and that's the
Drop
joke.
your drawers.
Drop
Drop
your
your
drawers.
drawers.
And that these for all of y'all watching, these are the skit was about, because again, they dedicated the fucking book to this dude. I think this was all around the same. It might have been that year where the shit was dedicated to him, the yearbook. But multiple children they're in the hallway laughing about this shit. Everybody knows that he makes kids.
What is funny, guys? I'm missing the joke.
There's nothing funny. I think these kids are so fucking traumatized that that's their only way of knowing how to deal with it. And then when you about it, it's like,
I had a male basketball coach in high school. I fucked up my ankle pretty badly one time. You know what that man did? Send me to the trainer. They put my foot in the goddamn ice water.
No one
and then
ever
they
asked to
taped
look
that
at your
shit and
vulva.
wrapped it up.
Is what
Ain't
I'm
nobody
saying.
asked to see my titties, my asshole, nothing.
None of
Nobody
that.
asked to do any of those things.
None of
Because I'm
that.
not fucking like what is I don't know what is going like white people are weird. Like God bless it. I'm not gonna blame victims, but at some point I just feel like if you're a teenager and you're 16 years old, do you mean to tell me that you have not had any experiences with the doctor or the nurse or women or anything that will lead you to be like,
You heard what Cat Williams said. He said, if my 10-year-old son went to Michael Jackson's house, I bet he couldn't fuck him. You know what I'm saying? It's
like I said, again, I don't want to blame victims because whatever maybe it was psychology of a culture of the way these children were raised or the way they were being taught. I do not know, but I just don't. And maybe it's because now children are more savvy. So I don't know that you could pull that at a school now with children where the running joke is that the teacher is telling children to pull their pants down. Because the minute you tell that joke to someone that's not at the school, it's a problem.
This how you know it wasn't no black kids, because a black kid would have definitely been like, "Ma, guess what happened today?"
Right.
I was like, I just don't.
And
It would be
we're up
very
there
hard.
Monday morning with the bonnets on. Like, what is happening?
One black kid that was in the yearbook, that nigga was probably like, you know how like people come to your school for VOTEC? You know they don't really go there.
And the crazy part is that I guess this. So then after this, we find out that Mackie that
he
we
was
speak
just there
with,
for the surf club, nigga.
yeah, just for the surf club. Threw it in the 60-person surf club with nowhere to surf and everybody just at Eddie.
You go to Portugal? No, because I go to Jefferson. I stay about 2 cities over.
But I just like to swim and be on the beach or whatever, and y'all cool.
Right.
So let me get into it. So Mackie is on the vice president of the student body, and so that means she's on honor council. My school didn't have honor council. I was confusion for a second, but I figured it out. So basically, they school is like, y'all can't be in here plagiarism and cheating and shit. And if you do that, we're gonna kick you out because that's part of the honor code.
Right.
So they got a whole little council to make sure that y'all abiding by the school rule.
Right.
And this is when we find out that Jerry
1982.
was like,
that's what year we're on. Still.
Yeah, so we're in 82. So they're like, oh, we need to have an emergency meeting of the honor council because Jerry Grover is out here cheating. He cheated on a test or a project, and we got to kick him out.
Right.
Well, then find out
they show the screen a picture of fucking Jerry, and he like, because he definitely wanted to not be there. He got kicked out because he got tired of Eddie. Like,
he got tired of being molested by Eddie, which I'll go back a little, but we find out that his family is very close with Eddie Fisher, and like he had met his siblings and his mom and dad, and they like knew when he had been at their house for like dinner and shit. So he could not get away from this person. Like could not. Was at home, was at school. And so he was like, my only way out of this is to misbehave so badly that these people kicked me out of school. Like he was going to school and plotting ways to get expelled. So that he wouldn't have to go there.
Being molested.
And it didn't even work until he fucking plagiarized some shit.
Listen, the first 3 times they was like, oh, Jerry.
Until he Googled, until he fucking wrote the exact word out of his fucking Encyclopedia Britannica. Like,
yeah.
Like,
But here's the
Jerry
part.
Jerry was setting shit on fire in that bitch, and they still would not kick him out. That is wild. You know, Jerry was setting fire to shit. He was trying to stab other students, and the thing that got him kicked out of there was breaking the honor code.
Is plagiarizing.
Right.
He tried everything, and they were like, no.
Fuck the fact you put palm olive in the teacher's coffee, nigga. You cheated on this test.
They was like, oh, but you just directly quote the Shakespeare? Like, oh, okay, you're out of here, my nigga.
Yeah.
So this is probably the part that, like, this isn't like a documentary that's like full of suspense. But this part made me like gasp. So 1982, guys. So Jerry gets kicked out, or Gary, right? Gary?
Right. Now, mind you,
sorry, I look at it and I don't know what to say.
I say Jerry. I think I was about to
Jerry. Jerry, I think.
Gary. Okay.
Gary. Gary. Yeah, I'm calling him Jerry. I think it's Gary.
For all of y'all that's watching, Gary's not an
okay, so
Gary's not at all. He's a pretty smart fucking kid.
He's pretty fucking smart. That's why he know how to spell his name different and we don't know how to say it. So Gary, he got kicked out in 82, right? This is the same year that Eddie ends up leaving the school. And I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing leaving because he definitely never got in trouble for anything. Because they simply just kind of let the school year roll out.
The story
and just was like, don't come back.
Yeah, the story that I brought up earlier is what got him fired. Or was supposed
but we don't
fired.
Did we ever get the story?
No,
it's a different story.
It's a different story. So this is when Paige is telling us about her friend that committed suicide. And so she says basically that Gary leaves or Gary gets expelled. And then a few months later, the friend gets molested by Eddie.
Right.
And so the friend is like, nah, I'm not cool with this shit. So the friend does the right thing, goes to the parents do the right thing, go to administration, are like, y'all are going to do something or we're going to take this public. Like, you either going to get rid of him or we're going to take public.
Right.
They make a bunch of fucking promises and sell these people a bunch of wolf tickets about how they're going to fix it and how they're taking care of the kids. And they just simply allow him to finish the school year.
Yeah.
They just let the school year roll out, guys.
They said it was 2 or 3 weeks left. Let him be here. Fuck it. Let him molest some more kids. Don't matter.
Just, and then, guys, so now he doesn't have a fucking job, right? You think. So he ends up being a school or at a college preparatory school.
Right.
Guys, remember how I just said that one nigga had did all of the things to get kicked out of that other school to get away from him? Nigga, how did he end up?
He ended up at the same school as Gary. I was like, oh my God.
How did he end up at the same school that Gary got transferred to after getting kicked out from the school that he was just at because of this nigga?
Yeah.
It almost made me feel like he did that shit on purpose.
And the part that was crazy to me is I was sitting here thinking, and this is horrible to think this, but I really thought that it was going to be one of those things where we were going to get to the end of the documentary and Gary was not going to be fucking with us.
Yeah, real shit.
I thought that too. I for sure thought he was going to be one of those people
and Gary was going to be gone.
I definitely thought that.
Yeah. Because
I definitely thought that. I was very happy to see that this nigga was still around.
Alive. Yeah, real shit. What fucked me up about it was not only did
definitely thought he would have not been here.
Not only did Fisher leave due to that kid's parents getting involved, but when you go to another school, generally the school that you're getting hired to checks your back records on because you're a fucking educator. And what was it? Grimbley wrote him a fucking letter that simply said sorry. It ended this way here. Sorry that
the students expect you not to molest them. Right. So I hope you get some help for that. This is an unfortunate incident. I know you didn't mean to slip and fall and put your penis in all those boys. So clean that up for your next job.
You're such a wonderful guy, and we definitely don't want to not see you out here teaching and touching. You know what I'm saying? Teaching and touching. So if you need anything from me, let your boy know.
I'm happy to write you a recommendation, and I'll be sure to leave out the part about the touching, but put in the part about the teaching. Got it.
Real shit. All the way
I'll
down.
be heavy on the teaching, not so on the touching.
I was looking at the screen with my mouth open. I was like, no,
I could not.
fuck, he
Word.
did
I could
not.
I could
Like,
not.
this nigga pretty much told him, like, yeah, blood, I know you are. You raper of the year, but I got your back. I got
Right.
your back.
You my
Like,
nigga. Like, if don't
it's so
nobody
many
fuck with you,
words.
Eddie, I fuck with you.
It's so many words. He was like, I know you're trash, my nigga, but you're my trash, and I love you.
Yes.
Like, it was a lie.
And I hate to have to throw you away.
Like, I hate. Like, listen, my wife says I'm a hoarder and you have to go, but if it weren't for that, I would totally keep you. Like, it was a lie.
Right. It was a lot, yo. Like,
It was
He
a lie.
molested 43 people at Porterville.
And he just was like,
43 people.
what did he say? He at the end, he was just like, I hope that circumstance or nothing happens and like this happens again. Like, so like
Basically,
you
like,
hope
clean
that
your shit up, you messy as fuck. Like, it really was
He
clean your
said
shit
it-
up, you messy.
pretty much, nigga, you would have still been at Porter-Gaud had nobody.
he said it like the boys were seducing him. Like, that's how I read it.
Now,
Like, don't get yourself in a situation where you be touching again.
Remember, Eddie said that,
You
though.
keep yourself out of those compromising situations. You wear a longer skirt. Don't you show your spaghetti. It was a
Cover those
fuck lie.
ankles, bitch.
This
Cover
nigga
your
said-
ankles,
remember
damn
his
it. Wear a
deposition-
bonnet.
And remember his deposition, he said.
Oh,
that-
wait. Pause. Jay's here.
What
So
up,
we have to
Jay?
say happy early birthday to her.
Happy
her birthday
early
is
birthday.
tomorrow.
Happy
Yes,
early
happy
birthday,
Jay.
And I don't
Happy
know where the hell
birthday to
Tam.
Tam.
I was gonna say I don't know where the hell Tam is, but today's her birthday. So shout out to Tam.
Oh,
Happy
shit,
birthday.
happy
I love you both
birthday.
so much.
Jay, we love you
Hell
We love
yeah.
you so much. True shit.
Chitty,
because
chitty,
y'all are
bang, bang.
amazing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for letting me do that. All right. Unpause.
So Jay, he's also the teacher at like 3 other schools, and he just molested the shit out of people over there too. And I'm
I
gonna be
have
honest
the
with you,
numbers.
like the only reason that nigga slowed down and didn't molest 43 other children is because he was getting old as fuck. Like that is really it. Like he had to slow down because
He-
the bitch was getting old.
And he got emphysema or some shit. Okay.
Yeah,
so
like he was getting
his-
old and couldn't breathe good, and that's why he had to slow down the molestation. Because you go from 43 to 3, some done slowed down.
Okay, so here's the list, guys. At Sacred Hearts, it was 3 victims. The next school was 2 victims. He chilled out on the 3rd school.
Right.
Okay, 4th school, he came in hot. That's the school that we're talking about. We're talking about
Right.
43.
Right.
He gracefully bows out, goes to the next school where Gary is, and now Gary is included in those 3 at this school.
Right.
And then his last school, he's got 4. And then, I will tell you what happens after that. So,
Yuck.
To the case, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I will point out this is interesting because Gary sees Eddie Fisher drive by him when he's in college, and he sees
right.
him with a small, like a boy in the car. And
Yo,
Gary's
Gary's
like,
a
fuck this,
motherfucking G,
Gary.
nigga.
Yeah, real
Said,
shit.
fuck this shit. Gary pulls up to his house like
Not on
skirt,
my
skirt,
watch, bitch.
gets out, knocks on the door, bam, I yawn on that ass, not on my watch, ho, and goes up to the door and gets into a screaming match with this old bitch. Like, you are not gonna molest any motherfucking body. Like, little boy, come out. Like, no, we're not
Right.
doing it. Get out.
Right, nigga. He really did. He hella like I don't know what I thought that story was gonna end up like,
Right.
but it
right.
definitely
I thought he was
wasn't.
gonna call the police and the police was gonna show up and that's how they was gonna catch him. That's really what I thought. He was gonna call the police was gonna show
This
up over there.
nigga went
The little boy
rogue
was
as
gonna
fuck.
be there with all the pornography and he was gonna go to jail. And that
No,
ain't
this
what
nigga
happened.
went very rogue and was like, I can do something about this.
He was
Nobody
like, fuck
fucking
it.
was there for me.
That
I'm
nigga
gonna
said-
do something about
You
this.
know
He said,
those
fuck it, I'm
documentaries-
Batman, and went over there.
You know how like the documentary starts? Like remember the one we watched where the dude killed the young black kid and it started with that? That like those are those type of situations, how that starts. Like Eddie Fisher's dead. Gary's standing on his porch. Let me tell you how we got here. You know what I'm saying?
Nigga.
Like,
Nigga.
that's that type
Gary-
of situation.
Gary's
Like
that
he
nigga.
pulled up, like he snapped on that ass, blacked out, and popped his ass in the doorway. I would have absolutely understood. Like I'd have been like,
Yeah,
well,
fuck y'all to understand too.
And nigga Eddie understood. Like He's a fucking monster. Like,
oh, he did. When he showed up at the house, it wasn't like he called the cops over there his damn self. Because if I'm an innocent person and somebody shows up on my doorstep after they skirt on 2
I'm
wheels
gonna
into
call
the
the police.
driveway, yelling and screaming at me about molesting children, I'm be like, you got the wrong address or person, or I ain't did none of that.
I
I'm
don't
calling
know.
cops to come get you because you're having a mental health.
Something's happening with you. So I'm gonna be in here. I'm gonna call the people, and you just be right here, like, because I don't
And
know.
you
what's
notice
happening.
that none of that happened. He ain't called
He
nobody
just
for
he
no
just started
50,
yelling
one
back,
hole.
like
He ain't called
bitch,
nobody
you
for no
liked
hole.
it.
Nothing. He ain't
What
called
you
the
yelling
cops.
back for if it ain't true, my nigga? What you
Right.
arguing
He was
about?
standing there on the
Right.
porch like,
Eddie, like, I thought you loved me. Like, oh my god.
Right.
he was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, okay, he might be in here, but he just came over to watch video. We was playing video games.
Right.
Oh, okay,
Right. Look,
Come
nigga,
on,
this
oh,
nigga.
yeah.
I'm gonna let him out.
Yeah.
Fine.
Fine.
Yeah, fine. Take him home.
So that's when we meet is that when we meet Greg, the attorney, which is Gary's attorney?
Yes.
All right, guys. So this part we're gonna get a lot. You can tell it's white because we're gonna have a lot of letter writing, but important letters that I feel like weren't fucking taken seriously.
Right.
So
yeah, Gary writes like a 7-page letter to the school board, and it's fair to point out.
Before that, Gary's attorney sent a letter to the superintendent and said, "Hey," and it was very like, I love the delivery here. Like it was just like, "Hey, it's either do an investigation to help these kids, or do an investigation to help this dude's reputation."
Right.
Like,
But
but
either
whatever
way,
you do,
investigation.
get some niggas down here and see what the fuck. Like, and I thought that was a very like neutral way to stand, because my letter would have been like, nigga, this nigga Eddie is doing the utmost. Like, my boy Gary had to go run down on that nigga. Like, that's what my letter is saying. But this nigga was like, look, I don't care whose side you're on, just investigate.
Do an investigation. Just look into it.
Right.
If it comes up nothing, cool. But at least look. Because some shit's weird over here. And
so when that happens, Eddie was like, I'm gonna retire. And so he put in his fucking thing to retire when he heard that there was some kind of investigation. Again, not knowing if it's on his side or if it's on the kid's side.
Right.
Eddie said no comment.
We all know that he thought it was the kid's side, which is why he retired.
Eddie said no comments. Plead the fifth. Gonna go sit down. Thanks, guys.
I'm gonna just have a seat. So then after that, that's when we get the 7-page letter that Gary wrote.
Because superintendent ain't did shit. That's the point. The investigation didn't happen. He retired, and they were like, "Cool, good enough for me."
That's no matter. Fine. So that's we scared him. We got him.
Whoa, ooh. Indictments. Like,
we coming for you, Gary. Just kidding.
It was almost as if they was like, who possesses the power to molest in school? Like, that is it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the
yeah, Jay's drunk, so everybody just do the type of hands.
So this is when Gary decides, well, I could go contact the board of trustees for the school. He writes a 7-page letter, types it.
Nigga.
7 pages. Detailing his abuse and his experiences with one Eddie, Fast Eddie, drop your drawers, fish. And he sends that to all the board members. He got his cute envelopes addressed with his little labels on there. Sends it, types it up real cute. Sends it over.
You know it. She's very drunk. Jay's very drunk, guys.
Damn.
I just want this to be recorded forever in history.
And Jay is very drunk. Right. I love that for you. God bless you. That's all right, girl. I wish I'd have known. If I showed up in clean. All right, girl. I show up on your doorstep. All right. I like drink. I'll be up there. Just show up. Surprise. Surprise. I got glitter and drinks.
Right. Okay. So where are we? Oh, so 7 pages. Send it to the board, right?
Board members. And they didn't say nothing. Like, he has still to this day not got a response from those people. Paige calling everybody that she know. I'm Paige Topic, and I used to go to Porter Goud, and I would like to talk to you about the things that happened at Portugal. Would you like to be on camera for my thing? And they're like, bitch, no.
It's really nice of you to keep calling me, but my answer is still no.
It's cute that you got on video chat for this, sugar, but I will not be putting my face on this screen.
Hard pass.
And it's
nobody, not a single goddamn one of them showed their faces. They were like, no, bitch, we won't be doing that.
Right. It's still, bitch, this is still Portugal. Regardless of what the fuck you can tie to us, it's still Portugal, and I'm not putting my face on it.
They was like, no face, no case, buddy. Won't be doing it.
Right.
So, but she asked one of them directly. She was like, well, if you got the letter, why wouldn't you say anything back? You have children. This is not concerning to you.
She was very white ladying him. She was like, a lot of us now, I'm on the board of my son's school. And if I got a letter like that, like, okay, bitch, just ask the question. But basically he was like, what did he say? They handed it over to the attorneys. And then she was like,
they
well,
got
damn.
The letters and they read that shit and they was like, oh shit, this is above my pay grade. I'm over here doing this shit for clout, not to be involved in a legal battle. They handed all them copies to the lawyer and said, this on you, bud. Don't call us about it. They have a discussion.
And they was like, so are we or are we not having a Sadie Hawkins? Like, yay or nay?
they really passed them bitches down the road, made a stack on the end, had said, girl, can you run these over to the attorney? And the rest of them was definitely like, so we need a new bus. I think that the surf club is really taking off and they need a vehicle. And possibly a place to meet because Eddie Fisher's house is out.
Retired.
Right, because the old place is gone. So
yeah, they was worried about other shit.
This is too much, guys.
They absolutely were like, yeah, anyway, so dinner? Like they really. So then this kicks off. So finally.
So wait, let me ask. This is just a random question, right? So let's be white ladies, right? And if you guys were on your kids' school boards, right? And you got that letter, what's your response? Because it technically is definitely a fucking above your pay grade. I think that it would have been worth the conversation, right?
I mean, yeah, it's worth making some fucking noise. It's like
some calls, like making some copies of it, sending it to some more people, like above you.
So here's the thing. I do not think that in terms of legal ramifications that they handled it poorly.
Right.
Because
legally, right.
What could they have really done?
Because I mean, it sounds horrible to hear, but what do you do besides turn it over to the lawyer? The only other thing they could have done is taken it to the police station instead of handing it over to the lawyer. But really, what do you do in that case? They weren't there. They didn't molest anybody. They don't have any firsthand accounts aside from his. Right. So even though it sounds shitty, from a legal standpoint, the same thing I will always tell people. Don't talk to the police about shit. Don't matter what they asking you. Don't matter they ask you to come downtown. You ain't do it. You don't know. Ask for a lawyer. Right. Police will tell their own family that. You don't speak to the police about shit. Let your lawyer speak to them. So,
shit. No, you're right. I mean, and then.
Because you don't want to be held singularly liable for writing back to that person and saying some shit that now gets you hemmed up on the lawsuit too. So I feel him. But maybe you need to be like, hey, this is really horrible if this happened to you. And we are going to at least try to open an investigation. Like there is a neutral point between
that's all I'm
the
saying.
school lawyer and nothing. Somewhere in the middle.
I just feel like I definitely would have after everybody got it and I felt like everybody would have been finished with their letters. If I'm sitting there and I'm like, guys, he even said that, like, he doesn't even recall them talking about it, which is insane to me because I'm not going to sit in a room with y'all and read some horrific shit like that and be like,
at least, damn, that's crazy. Like,
I mean, like, what the fuck? Who is this kid? Find the yearbook. Give me something. Like, and now I'm just like, okay, y'all. I need to brainstorm. Like right now, I feel like we're in one of those escape rooms, bitch. And the only way we're gonna get out is if we fucking figure out how we can help this person in the best way we can.
Right.
I mean, it
wasn't asking for money. Like he was simply asking for people to pay attention and do something so that this doesn't keep happening.
They gave the white response, the one where they involved their lawyers. They did
I mean,
it's shitty, but I mean,
I mean, I'm saying tell the lawyers, but like
It's
we can have a
shitty.
humane conversation.
But
And
know
also
what
when
it
I,
is, though? I
Really,
feel
you
like
go to the police.
at the end of the day,
okay.
you got to think about it the way something DJ brought up too. A lot of those people that's on the board right now, as fucked up as it does sound, I wasn't there. I do know that maybe this did happen. I heard that it happened. Hey, Eddie Fisher's retired at this point. I think a lot of those people, even if they wanted to give a fuck, because of how we opened the show with Charleston being shrouded in so much motherfucking like undercover fucking
You're
misery.
right.
It was
You're
one of
right.
those things to be like, bitch, I work for Porter Gow.
This is why I can't be on people's committees and shit. Because I'll be like, what the fuck? Like,
certainly, because the shit is fucked up, and I think you're right. They should have went to the police. Somebody should have said something, but they weren't
like,
there. All they have is a letter from somebody that they don't know, who to them is a dropout. Keep in mind that. To them, he's a liar who plagiarized and cheated on a project and got kicked out of Porter Gown, who didn't even graduate from there, and now he's just a troublemaker trying to stir up shit. Like, that is what it looks like to them.
Instead of being like, damn, did all that shit happen? Did it have something to do with that?
Right.
And also keep in mind that as far as
is that like a switch I have to turn off in my brain? Like, I don't understand.
Well, we're also looking at it with a full picture of Eddie Fisher. These people are looking at it because keep in mind, nothing has happened yet. He's been going to all these schools, still working. Everyone's giving glowing praise. He's worked at 3 other schools after Porter Gown. So to them, it's like this dropout bum kid is accusing this great educator who's had a wonderful career of being a pedophile. So it's like, I don't even know if I can take it. Like, it's the context here. We're looking at it from a full understanding of how shitty he is. They're looking at it, dropout boy telling us that this lovely, esteemed white man has done something horrible. IDK.
Oh, shit.
I mean, yes, it's absolutely thumbs down. Like, it's 0 stars. Would not recommend Porter Gown for 20 grand.
Very ghetto.
Like, very ghetto. Like, Surf Club is cool, but molestation is bad. 0 stars. Would not go.
Yeah, Surf Club is like, look, you're
Surf
cool.
Club is A1.
You suck.
Surf Club is cool. Enjoyed lunch. Had great lunch, ladies. Food was amazing. Trainer was asking you to pull down your pants for a sprained pinky toe. Would not recommend. Oh, I mean,
I had a fever. He asked to see my dick. I didn't know what was happening. Would not recommend.
Gym class was cool. Showers had hot water. Man was standing around the locker, peeping into the shower. Would not recommend. Like, I mean, yeah. I'm just.
Yeah, but you know what? Though? This shit is like. It goes down to the rabbit hole type of thing because it's like at the end of the day, how did the coaches? Because now we never talked about that, and it was never a thing that was brought up. But you're a fucking football trainer, and like you're hanging out at the motherfucking. I played football. I've definitely had to use those showers. I can never tell you one single fucking time any of my coaches were in the fucking shower.
These niggas were definitely in that fucking office acting like they was doing some work or some shit.
Like, what?
They were just sitting in that fucking office acting like they shuffling papers and shit.
Right. Playing on their phones and shit, playing Tetris and shit.
Right.
Playing
arguing with their wife and shit. Bitch, I don't want meatloaf. I don't want meatloaf.
Be in that fucking office with them feet propped, the ankles crossed, propped up on that desk, not doing a bitch ass thing. Like, when nobody standing in the shower making sure you was fucking
never. After a win,
make sure you get your balls.
Nothing, not there, not doing it. Talk to you before you shower, but not after, like not during.
Right.
Like,
I seen my coach at practice and after the shower. It was like, and even when you come out the shower in the locker room, the coaches are like you said, it's somewhere the fuck else. It's like real adults are not trying. It's all right.
They're not following your stinking asses.
Thank you. Come on. You already trying to get a 16 to 17-year-old boy who's awkward with his body probably.
Happy birthday!
Typewriter hands.
Turn it up. She about to shut.
So
out.
All this non-responsiveness from these people prompts young Gary to tell his dad what actually happened. And dad was like, yo, This some wild shit. I wish you had told me sooner because I went over there and beat the shit out that man, and we wouldn't even be here because he'd be dead because his daddy a real one. So then Dad was like, "But I'm gonna do white people. I'm gonna do white man shit, and we gonna sue."
Drink. I've been drinking. I've been
drinking. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Yay!
So
They filed
where
a
are
civil
we?
and a criminal case. They
Two
had all the
trials.
cases popping.
2 trials on that ass. But I
Right.
remember when we told you a long ass time ago that Gary was that nigga? He got 2 fucking trials on these hoes. The first one was the criminal trial. Boom. What this nigga get?
20
years.
Yep.
Sit your old ass down, nigga.
And the wild part is, listen, them deposits, we're not getting into it because they are a hard watch and we're trying to keep this light, but there are
We're
tapes.
doing our fucking best.
You can see, when you watch, it is a heavy watch because you see these men grappling with the weight of what happened to them as children, and they're having to sit and give depositions about what happened. So a lot of them don't even agree to be on camera. Like, they're
Right.
adults and they're sitting with their voices altered, their faces covered, they're ashamed. You can tell that there is still some
And
shame in what happened to the
not
point where
only
they
are
don't
they
want to be on
ashamed-
camera.
Not only are they ashamed just because it happened, but again, his victims were the elite. Some of these men are the lawyers, the fucking, the aldermen of the fucking town, maybe the mayor. I'm not saying it is the mayor, but a lot of these men are doctors, lawyers, people in very prominent positions in Charleston, South Carolina right now.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And they
So-
don't want to be associated. And again, they don't want to be associated with any scandal. So they would rather say what they have to say behind a blacked out face than
blacked out
have to
screen and shit. Yeah.
right then and have to face what happened. And our heart goes out to them because that has to be difficult. And like the therapist
sure.
was saying, there's some of them haven't even told their wives. Like, they have wives and children and families, and they aren't even able to tell them what happened to them.
Right. After all these years.
True shit.
And then some of them are killing themselves. Like, they would rather die by suicide than to have to face what happened to them.
Mm-hmm. So the second trial is the civil trial. Okay, so remember how we told you that Gary was a motherfucking G? Gary's daddy, nigga, is a motherfucking G. And I know Gary sits back in retrospect and is like, yo, if I would have known my dad would have fucking busted this nigga's kneecaps, nigga, I would have told this nigga. I really feel like if he thinks back on it, he's like, fuck, I should have told my dad. Because this nigga,
daddy was the one with the boat. We could have dropped this nigga off in the ocean.
Nigga, fucking Dexter, this nigga, get the fuck out of here.
Real.
Okay, listen.
His daddy would have beat his ass. And so the dad is like, well, I can't beat his ass now, but what I can do is file these legal ass white man lawsuits on his ass.
Right. Because this is around this time is the first time that his dad had ever even really heard that the things that were happening to his son. Yeah. And this nigga said, if you'd have told me, we would have solved that shit right then, nigga, with a bat.
Pronto.
But now that we can't, let's go talk to these fucking other white people.
And they did. So basically what happens is they file a suit and they say that the school, Porter Goud, the administrator, Major Alexander, and then Harry Potter,
whatever, I don't know.
and then Harry Potter villain, whatever his name is,
right?
Gilbram, Mr. McGillicuddy, whatever the fuck it is. I don't fucking remember his name. Let me go. Grimball. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Grimball. So yeah, the evil Hufflepuff Grimball and Major Alexander. They sued them, and they also sued the school because they said that all of these people are liable because they had a duty to provide a safe environment to these children at school, and they knew that Eddie Fisher was a pedophile and was not doing that.
Right.
And to which evil villain, whatever.
Dog.
Huh?
No, because I already know where you going, and this shit had me
fucked up.
The motherfucking school responded and said, it's not our duty to make sure that your child is protected and safe while on our campus.
It actually duty. How though? How is it not though?
Right.
That's like basically like you got like two things like you're supposed to do for them. The first one is that, and the second one is like probably make them read or like write something before they leave.
Right.
Like and eat and like that I feel like I feel like that comes in the first one.
It's like
keep them safe, have them make sure they eat, and like make them read a book or some shit. Like
they're leaving my home where
solve an equation.
Here. So if I'm trusting them to you,
I'm definitely that's the first thing I'm gonna need from you, my nigga. Like I'm gonna need you to let me know that like you just won't let anything happen to my kids. But that was their defense. Like oh, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. So
we don't have a legal obligation.
You pay $26,000 a year, but
we have no legal obligation to make sure your children are here and safe.
When you sign them niggas up,
where is Gary's daddy with that bat, my nigga? Where's the bat? Like
the niggas say it ain't in the mission statement, it ain't in the contract. Keep them
we
safe.
We are not contractually obligated to care for your children, and that is some
but you are like.
And that is some wild shit when you think about it, because I guess my next response would have been like, I don't know what they said in response. My next response would be, okay, well, if you're not obligated to make sure the children are safe, why do you take roll? Why do you have sign-ins at the front desk? Why do you not let random people just wander around campus, right? That's all safety procedures. So you're just doing those for shits and giggles because actually you're not responsible for the safety of the children, right?
Because there's somebody right now coming here with a fucking basket of TNT dynamite and just fucking you're not responsible.
You doing fire drills and tornado drills so that you can get the little motherfuckers out the door, but you're not worried about their safety.
But you're not. But we don't really do that shit.
We don't really do that though.
But the very next
but like the free school do that, so the $26,000 school has to fucking do that.
The free school got metal detectors, nigga.
Nigga, do you hear what I'm saying? Like the free school is investing in the safety. I'm gonna need you to use some of this that I'm giving you to do that. Like,
well, I guess they had to spend it all on lawyers because that's the only logical explanation here. And then even then, they kind of went cheap because what kind of defense is that?
Right.
It's not
like you didn't even splurge for good lawyers. Like y'all some fucking scammers and your lawyers some scammers too. Y'all, everybody's scamming because for the amount of money these people are paying in tuition, you should have been able to afford an attorney that can come up with a better defense than we are not legally liable for the safety of your children for $20,000.
And then though, but look,
you know how when you go to the doctor,
you take the headmaster of the fucking school and then ask him how would he feel? This is right after saying they don't have to protect their children. How would you feel if this happened? Now his kid, I forgot the name of the school, but his kid goes to one of those fucking big ass prestigious schools.
They asked him, they said, if your child was going to school, wouldn't you want to know if your child was being taught by a pedophile? And what did he say, Penrose?
No, he didn't even say the teaching part. They said if this was happening to your child. Oh no, you're right. If there was being taught by a pedophile, you are right. And his response was, as long as this not happening to my kid, why would I give a fuck? Pretty much. Why would I want
party on, dude?
That man said as long as his kid is not getting molested by the pedophile, he don't need to know his pedophiles at the school.
Hire who you want. Hire who you want.
And the wild part when you
like,
think
do you
about
think
that
your
in
child
retrospect, he has been teaching and in charge of children since 1940 fucking 8.
And imagine all the people that have it.
In 1945. And this nigga was 3 years removed from World War II, and he's been in charge of your children since then.
And when was this trial? 1997.
The 90s? The
97.
97. He was teaching children since fucking World War II. And he was like, nah, do you know how many pedophiles have been at the schools that man taught at? He doesn't know everybody.
Come on now. Come on now.
That's 1948. Do you know how many pedophiles he done let touch?
But look though, and this is what makes me believe that Major and fucking
he ain't never checked the background, Lord.
That's like this what makes me believe they really was boys in the Citadel, because during this trial, when all of this shit is going down, y'all, fucking Major, they from South Carolina. He drives to the southern tip of North Carolina, parks his fucking car, covers himself in a blanket, and blows his fucking brains out.
That's because they found out that he's also a pedophile.
Right, because he's a big daddy pedophile. Like he's number one. He's number one shot. Like
this nigga was a bigger pedophile than Eddie.
And that's and then when they said
which is
that,
obviously why they
all
would be
of
so
it
cool.
all of it
And
made
then it
sense.
all
When they
fucking
said he
made
was a
sense.
pedophile too, I was like,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
It
He
made
couldn't
sense.
out him without risking outing himself.
Yeah.
So he was like, I can't snitch on
Oprah
that man and
hands,
get him
Oprah
fired.
hands.
I can't snitch and
Oprah
get him fired
hands.
because I'm doing the same shit. We passing these kids around. I can't call the police. I'm also molesting children.
And a lot of those kids and a lot of people kind of had the same story. Like Major was a very trusted individual, and so nobody, no kid was snitching. Nobody was looking at him like he was possible. You know what I mean? The possibility of Major touching a child, get out of here. That kid has to be
Except for
lying.
he was touching them all. They said they was like having to pay a toll to get in the house. He had to
Right.
rub your shoulders or massage your scalp or massage your thigh muscle, or you
I
had to
don't
bend
want
it
to
over
go
and bust
into
it
nowhere
open.
that bad. I don't want to go into nowhere that bad.
Like he went from talking about the man scratching his scalp to the
But
it was a lot.
And again,
It sounded like a Kaya song, y'all. Like
right. My neck, my back.
it was a lot.
It did. I'm not lying to y'all.
Listen, on the real, the first time as a kid that a girl fucking tried to massage my scalp, I knew it felt good, but I still didn't understand what the fuck was going on because it was the first time it happened. So you're not gonna tell me that as a young boy that you're dropping your kid off and your kid has to do this weird sexual shit to even be allowed in this man's house, and nobody's coming home like mine. This nigga made me rub his legs while we watched motherfucking A Few Good Men. What the fuck are we doing?
Good night.
That's the thing. I mean, I'm just saying, if a teacher, because even if you don't realize that it is wrong, children like to tell things. They're excited about things. So if you're like, oh, my cool teacher let me come to the house and he scratched my scalp and then gave me a shoulder rub and that was kind of nice. Like, even if you don't know it's sexual,
You know to say something.
you say something because you're not looking at it as sexual. You're just looking at some cool shit that
Let
happened
me
to
tell
you.
mine what happened.
Yes.
It was absolutely pedo tone.
Yes.
It absolutely was.
It was a pedo toe. Yes.
It absolutely
It was
was.
like that fairy tale of like the troll under the bridge,
Right.
except like not the kind of riddles you want to play.
Like no, except for no riddles, just pull your dick out. Like it was.
Yeah, no riddles.
Just no riddles, just penises. Like it was.
He just grabbed somewhere on you.
Yeah, he just like massage some. One of them did he say that you had to shave all the hair off your body?
That's what it was. That was the weird. Yes. Yes.
Oh my god, my butt is falling.
That scared me. Then I was like, oh, these crazy. Like
yes.
That's when I got scared. At first I was angry. Then I got really nervous and scared when they got to talk about they was shaving body hair. And
there's a man right now giving his girl the best fucking
puts
wax
the lotion in the basket.
Like I was like, oh, that's what I really thought. They were one step away from being murderers. Like, and I know that's a big leap, but when you molest that children and you have a lot to lose, I think at some point you're gonna get one that's like, oh no, I'm not down. I'm gonna go tell my mom and daddy right now. They're not gonna let that child leave the house. They were literally one child. They were literally like 5 seconds from meeting the right kid to be like, I wish you would, bitch, and that would be the one that gets murdered. Like they were that close.
And that's why, look, and as sad as it sounds, just again thinking about the town, thinking about the history, thinking about the school that is Porter-Gaud and what it stood for and how elite it was supposed to be. These men literally not only dealing with the just the thought of being molested and not being able to tell all those years. I'm honestly inclined to believe that a lot of the deaths didn't come from didn't nobody believe you as a child, but as an adult male, you're probably still, or you're telling somebody, or the few people that you do find it okay to confide in, people are associating. Again, this is Porter-Gaud. That would never happen. And like you said, at this time, like you said, we got a full view of who Eddie was. At this time, it still wasn't out who this motherfucker was.
And then we kind of know about Charleston, right? And then, like, even if you do tell, right, they're like, well, why didn't you say something earlier? You're not.
Right.
Like, that's not true.
Right. This is Porter-Gaud.
Right.
This would never happen here. And it's sad, man. And we see it in so many different facets. The coach from Michigan State that molested all of those gymnastic girls. Fucking Penn State. What was weird about the whole thing with Penn State with me is after it happened, if anybody knows anything about Joe Paterno, it was a fucking crazy how long he coached college football. And 2 weeks after he was fucking released, he died. Because you knew what the fuck you're not gonna tell me you spent coaching the fucking University of Pennsylvania for 40-some years and all these boys is being molested in college and you didn't know shit about it. And so, it goes.
The secret was keeping him alive. Like,
I mean, and that's what it really seemed like. It seemed like coaching and keeping them secrets was what was holding that man. The same way Prince Philip ass was fucking staring death in the face every day, and then they was sidestepping each other, doing a little shuffle drill, and finally he had to give up. They was doing the Oklahoma drill, and finally death tackled him.
Not the Oklahoma drill.
Yeah, then finally death got up like a split second faster and tackled him. It was wild.
Shit.
Death rolled over 1 second quicker and was on his ass.
Right.
Boom.
Gotcha, bitch.
That's why you had to stand all the time. I'd be scared too. Motherfuckers kept Death kept running Oklahoma drills at me. Hell. I'd be scared too.
Please stop saying Oklahoma drills.
Nigga always looked scared to death. Shit, I did listen. I'm just saying. Death had his foot on his fucking neck. He was just there.
That's the funniest analogy I've ever heard about a nigga facing death.
I love it.
Does it not work? Like I'm just like I feel like it's fake. Joe Paterno was shuffling around Penn State and shit, and Death was shuffling
That shit is crazy.
It was waiting. It's like he made a deal with the devil. That I believe that man conjured up the devil. He knew they was doing all that touching on them kids, and him and the little devil sat down, and he was like, "Look, as long as you coach at Penn State, you live forever as long as you coach." And then he was like, "Oh shit, they found out. I gotta go sit down." And Death was like, "Knock, knock, knock. Hey, remember when I had said that you couldn't stop?
It's over.
Come on
you just gonna stop? Why?
Come on me. Come on home."
And then they did the same shit.
You clearly thought I was trying.
They didn't fire him. They allowed him to step down. You know
right. Just like let the season play out. Right. And then like when ain't nobody worried about it, like then I'll just be out. Like
and it was over.
That shit is very dirty and I don't like that shit. And I'm smiling, but I don't like that shit.
And it's just
at any rate. Any rate, so they sued the shit out these people, and of course, a jury full of 12 motherfuckers with common sense and children of their own was like, "Wow." Right. So y'all think that you aren't okay? So y'all gonna get him $105 million, and y'all split that however you want to. Figure it out. I don't care that he's dead. Y'all go ahead and snatch that from the estate, and y'all divide that up. They really was like, "What the fuck? Like, what do you mean?"
So he fucked over everybody that he cared about by shooting himself in the head instead of being a fucking man and fucking dealing with that shit. Because whoever is over there alive owe half of $105 million. So I don't know how that works out.
And then can you imagine being the kid of the nigga? Like your daddy was one of the most trusted people in all of Charleston.
Yeah,
and then he went and shot himself, and
then he went and shot himself. So you know he's fucking guilty,
right?
Like you know he's fucking guilty. He didn't even try to.
The wife of that nigga's son. Can you imagine being somewhere you have Benihana's having the best time ever, and then the news come out that his daddy murked himself, and you can't. And
then you had Benihana's and them liens come down on them accounts because you owe some motherfuckers $45 million.
What?
And then you was like, not the car that he promised me at the end of the year, like he did it in that car.
Right. Like that's got to be fucked up. Like we're being awful, but this is awful. Like this is awful terrible shit. And he deserves. Like his family doesn't deserve that. But you know those people can't live in Charleston and just be chilling. Right. This man people have come out and said this man is a fucking pedophile. He wouldn't even muster up the courage to just go give a deposition. Like he was, and that's the crazy part. He wasn't even being prosecuted. But he knew when he gave that deposition, the shit was gonna come out. So he was like, fuck it, I ain't doing that.
And then
guys, remember the civil case was for the school, guys. So it was not the state versus him. He was just supposed to go talk about what boy did.
What may have or may haven't, right.
And the thing about it is, the nigga did 20, and regardless of how you want to talk about it, like they got him on tape, and he denied every time they asked if those people knew about him being a pedophile.
He
He
said no.
never once snitched on them.
And
He
to
was
the end.
not going to get prosecuted. He
To the end.
wasn't.
Remember at the end, he says, "Now the way y'all
He
put
wasn't.
that, they may have known something." But right, he
But
never
that's-
said
Yeah.
their name was.
But
He never said like, "Yo, dude knew this." He never said we did this.
of course he knew, because we used to fucking, yep, exactly.
He never
None of that.
said anything that could implicate him in any type of criminal prosecution.
Yep.
Never. That man was never going to go
At
to
all.
jail.
At all.
Murked himself because
He killed himself over $45 million because there was no way.
Oh yeah.
And well, actually, not even that, because that happened after he killed himself. So he just killed himself to be killing himself, I guess.
Yeah, true shit. You're right. That right.
Like,
that suit didn't come to, or that judgment didn't come to after he was dead. Or
as I say, like they said he should have been in jail, but he wasn't gonna go. So I guess.
Right.
So then the school board does a public apology with like 3 media people there from Channel 20,000 News.
right.
And the
20,000.
Heaven's Gate Cult newsletter.
It's like when America apologized for slavery and they did that shit on PBS at like midnight. And
like they came out, they walked out in front of the school with their little letterheads and sat up there in the screen. And it's literally like it's like 4 bitches in black dresses standing out there that's also on the school board, and they apologizing to them. And I was like, well,
make it make sense.
Why are you apologizing to them? And that's what Carlos said. Like, why wouldn't you? We would have liked to have been there to hear the apology. Why would you apologize to the other board members and 2 people from CBS News Nightly?
Right, make it make sense. Exactly.
So when this fades out, we just get a bunch of headlines. We just get a bunch of headlines where failed to report is highlighted to show that nothing has changed, and you motherfuckers teach at these schools, and y'all love to just not report pedophiles.
Yeah. Motherfuckers act like because you friends with somebody that they really wouldn't do that. You act like because that motherfucker was nice to your kids that they really wouldn't do that. And that's what a lot of failure to report honestly does not come from somebody who actually has hardcore evidence that something happened. A lot of failure to report comes from that fucking kid that came to you and confided and you just ignored it. That fucking time when you walked down the hall and you seen the teacher with a child and you didn't see anything happen, but you kept your dumb ass walking. And
that time where you were walking home, and you saw the teacher. And you saw the teacher that lives next door to you pull in the house with the kid, like, and you didn't say nothing. It's shit like that, guys. Like,
it is. I mean, but I also think
really
that it is
trouble for that shit.
When it is a certain demographic, and it's not always rich white children that keep quiet, but very often they are able to go into, again, we always make it about race, but if they're able to go places, whether they're white, black, whatever, in these schools where these kids come from, low or low socioeconomic backgrounds or disadvantaged backgrounds, and they can say stuff like, oh, well, I know your mom and dad, they're trying really hard, but maybe they aren't able to buy you these things, but you can come to my house and you can have snacks and play video games, and I love you even if your parents don't love you. So these kids are coming and confiding in their teachers, hoping for someone to help them and understand them and take care of them. And the teachers are using that as an end to groom them and molest these children. And so then when other teachers see it, they do that white savior bullshit or savior complex where, oh, I'm saving the inner city kids. Like, it's fucking Dangerous Minds. Like, bitches, you are not Michelle Pfeiffer. That shit is not motherfucking real. Go call the goddamn cops and get the fuck out of my face. Like, what is it? They think that it's not. And they all do it. Like, you are not saving these. Like, you don't know these fucking children like that. And there's no reason for you to know them like that. They got mamas and daddies. Like, if you feel like there's something going on, maybe you need to call and report a case. But you shouldn't be letting other teachers fucking put their arms around and be patting them on the shoulder and rubbing them and taking them home from school and shit and giving them back. What?
None of that shit.
In no world is any of that okay. And if you feel like some shit is not okay, why wouldn't you just report it and be like, okay, cool? But it's that whole thing of, again, psychologically not believing children and believing adults and being like, I don't want to ruin their career if it's not real.
Yeah.
Right. So the point is believe children.
Fuck those niggas.
Believe
is what
children.
I say to all of that.
That is the point. Believe children. Children deserve to have their voices heard. They deserve to be believed. They deserve to have people listen to what the fuck they have to say. And it is unfortunate there are so many adults in the world that feel like they can trot over children. And a lot of that is people, I mean, because I'm from that generation. People feel like children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
Like you can be there, but you shouldn't be allowed to have a talk. So I'm hoping that people are moving
But can you just say that your mom is trash though? Like, why do you have to like say like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because your mom did you like that? Like, don't continue the fucking cycle. Like, that's why you have issues. Like, don't do that. Right. That's all it is. Like,
I agree.
Like, I don't know. People be
I mean,
so
you have to move towards
be like, oh, I won't be like my parents when they grow up. And they definitely do.
We have to move towards more positive parenting and certainly more allowing children to have autonomy, because I think and there's that whole thing about consent and not teaching children boundaries and consent. And so then when somebody is touching your children, they don't know to say anything because you haven't taught them any fucking boundaries. You out here making them hug and kiss the fucking creepy Uncle Eddie, and they like, I don't want to hug him. No, you go hug him. That's your family. I fucking hate that. Yeah. Don't make children hug and kiss people they don't want.
I really hate that.
I hate that shit. Don't do that.
I really hate that.
True story. I dated a girl, and we lived in Florida. Her kid's dad lived in Texas, and like we took the kid to drop the kid off one time, and he came back, and he really was on some shit with his mom. Like, nah, like hanging out at dad's house is cool, but like, you know, when his nephew come over, I don't really be feeling it. But he would never explain what. Fast forward to like years later, the nephew was molesting the shit out this kid. And he was telling his mom, like, I don't want to go, but couldn't vocalize what was really happening because, of course, I'm pretty sure he's been threatened or, don't say nothing in my, the shit that they tell these people. But to your point, it's like, yeah, if your kid is really like, yo, I don't like this motherfucker, it's probably a reason behind it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that shit is just, it's too much, man.
Woo, we made this funny. Okay.
We did.
Shit, high five. That's amazing.
But for everybody that's watching, that's the documentary in a nutshell. Like you said, it got to the point really quickly and intently. And the biggest thing is, honestly, I think the biggest thing from watching this is exactly what VJ said. Listen to children. If you can look at a child and say that
listen to fucking kids
because an adult said so, you should also be an adult enough mind to say what the fuck is the difference between right and wrong, and inherently look into but intently look into shit and say, okay, because kids do make shit up. There's not.
But what does it hurt to find out if it's a lie or not? Is it exactly. And that's my whole thing. What does it hurt to investigate?
And exactly. And that's
it doesn't.
It doesn't at all. You know what I mean? So.
Anything else we need to cover?
So fuck Eddie. Let's see.
I hope he's dead.
Fuck
Berkeley Grimval.
Hope he's dead too. He been teaching since 1948. That bitch dead. Okay. That nigga still ain't kicking from 1948. Yeah, he did. All right. Good shit. Rotten hell, bitch. Shit.
I think the next one. We gotta. It's gotta be something like.
Should need to be hilarious.
Because it's a lot. It really does.
No crime, no molestation, no one dies. It needs to be something beautiful and uplifting. Facts, Tam.
Exactly.
And I'm so sorry for that.
And just
someone
because,
should have listened to you.
Real shit.
Yep, for sure. And that's why we can't be at the age that we are and not listening to kids. Like when we know that we know people or that shit has happened to us. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very trash. So don't do that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So
if you're watching this, and if you're watching this, because we're here and we're being serious, if you're watching this, if you need to report something that is molestation, if it's abuse, if you are being abused, any of that thing, give me a minute. I will post some links and some phone numbers. But seriously, that is a serious thing. And if you feel like you are not heard or seen or need somebody to talk to, that is important. We are here for you. We support you, and we want you to get the help that you need.
Sure.
So don't ever feel like you are alone and that you cannot tell people about your experience.
Real shit.
If nobody cares, all Docked Up cares.
We fucking care.
Fuck yeah.
Shit. All right, guys. So that's it. We'll bring up the energy for next episode, I think, for sure. But this was really good. I was very proud of us. Like, again, I love you guys, and we always find a way to fucking get this shit out. So
we got through this,
yeah. So
yeah, it was beautiful.
Right, so anyway, It's called What Haunts Us. You guys can find it on Amazon Prime. Like I said, we were able to pull it out to an hour and 43 minutes. It's shorter than that. It's like just over an hour. But it's something to watch.
But it's a short watch. But it's an intense watch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. But anyway, I think that's it, guys. You guys ready to head out?
Just watch out for those car warranty scams. They're out here.
All right. I'm Chris. That's BJ.
That's Penrose.
All right. We're typing.
Type hands.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.